two things that we check for when determining the performance criterion of the building. So they are the story drift and the PDelta effects. So if so the story drift, usually what the code specify is that it should be limited to 1.5% of the story height. So whatever the story drift that you determine should be less than 1.5% of the story height. If that is been satisfied, so that you can conclude that the performance of the building is satisfied as well. And the other thing is the PDelta effects, which where the theta value, if it is less than 0.1, then you do not need to consider the PDelta effects. And if it is more than 0.2, then the structure is potentially unstable and shall be redesigned. So there are various conditions that you have to check for depending on the value that you obtain for theta. So if it's as long as it's less than 0.1, so we are good to go. So let's see how to get this from the SAP model. So unfortunately, unlike in MIDAS Gen, SAP2000 does not provide such tables for PDelta effects and story drift. So you have to manually calculate these values. So to do that, just get the deformation, and so I have not modeled slabs in this model because I have used the rigid diaphragm constraint at each level. So if you check, if you see at every node in every flow, if you take a particular flow, the displacement in the x direction in u1, the u1 should be the same value for at each node. So if you consider this flow, the displacement in the one direction should be the same. So because you want to act the flow slabs as rigid diaphragms. If it isn't this case, meaning that the building is having the building is rotating, the torsion is significant. So but as long as it's each flow level is acting as a rigid diaphragm, then the whatever the damages due to lateral forces will be quite less. So how to determine the story drift and PDelta effects, you have to, so like I said, you have to manually calculate. The easiest method would be to develop Excel sheets like this. So let me show you. So this is an Excel sheet that I've developed for calculating the PDelta effects, and this is to calculate the story drift. So as per the code, to get the story drift, the design deflection is DIE times mu over SP. So DIE is whatever the deflection at ith level that you obtain from the model. So at ith level, so this is the 15th level, 14th level, 13th level. So the DIC value is the same at a particular level. So you can get those values, and then you have to multiply it by this value mu over SP. So that means this value for intermediate moment resisting frames, the mu over SP value is 4.5. so you multiply this by the mu over SP value and you get the design deflections. And then what you have to do is and then from that you have to calculate the design story drift, the DST value. So to get the DST value, you have to subtract the design deflection from nth level to n minus 1 level, and then multiply it by the story height. So let's say if you are looking at if you're looking at so you're looking at this level, so then that means you have to multiply I'm sorry, you have to subtract the deflection at this level from the deflection level below, and then you can get the DST value. Because the DST is the difference of the deflections at the top and bottom of the story under consideration. So that way you can get the DST value, and you have to check whether that value is less than 1.5% of the story height. So if that is the case, then that's okay. And so what you have to get from the model is the DIC value, that is these displacement values at each level. And to get the PDelta effects, you can again develop Excel sheets like this. Again, you have to get this DIC value, the displacement value, and these are the loads from each level, and this is the shear force, the base, not exactly the base shear, but the shear force at each level. And this is the story height, and this is the DST value. And using these parameters, you can again develop an Excel sheet to get the theta value, and check if it is less than 0.1. And if it is less than 0.1, then you do not have to consider any PDelta effects.